Hey there, welcome back everybody, and we're now moving on to the Picks of the Week, where we talk about any movies, TV shows or games that we've been playing or watching, and we think you guys, the listeners, the audience, the viewers, you might be interested in watching, listening or playing these things as well. So without further ado, Chris, what is your Pick of the Week?
So like I talked about earlier in the show, I've been watching lots of Candyman. So my Pick of the Week is... I guess the Candyman trilogy, man. I've watched them all. Like I said, the first one I think is genuinely a very good horror movie. It's essentially, it's about. You said you're not very familiar with Candyman, right, Graham?
Yeah, I don't mean know anything about it.
It's basically about this. It's an urban legend about this guy who was the son of a slave. He was an artist back in like the 1800s, and this local politician or landowner was really wealthy. Hired him to come and paint a portrait of his daughter, and Daniel Robitaille and that guy's daughter ended up falling in love. He impregnated her. And once the father found out, he basically got a posse and captured him. They took him out to this, field, cut off his arm, and basically started torturing him, and then covered him in bees. And these bees came and stung him to death. And so he's basically become like a curse, where he now goes and anyone who says Candyman 5 times in front of a mirror, you basically summon him. It's kind of like Bloody Mary. And so he's haunting this small community in Chicago. And it's like this urban legend. And it's this these people live in fear of the Candyman inside this small community. And there's this woman who is studying urban legends and stuff in college. And she finds out about it. And she starts going to this area and trying to learn more about the Candyman and uncover the kind of the legend and stuff like that. And turns out Candyman's actually real and starts just killing lots of people, and it's crazy. This movie was so scary to me when I was a kid. I remember watching this quite a bit growing up, and we were so scared that when we had sleepovers and stuff, someone would always get dared to say Candyman in the mirror 5 times to see what would happen. But we would do the same thing with Bloody Mary and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was always
what was the Bloody Mary thing? What was that supposed to do?
You stand in front of a mirror and say Bloody Mary 3 or 5 times or something.
See yourself dead or something?
She would appear, wouldn't she? Or come and take
Yeah, she would appear.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Basically the same concept.
I feel like you had to do it at the bottom of the stairs or something, and she'd appear at the top of the stairs, and then she'd slowly walk down each step. That was a myth.
It was always a mirror for us. It was always a mirror.
There was a mirror. You had to be in a mirror, but you'd see her.
It's overall the less fun version of Beetlejuice. Oh, sorry, there was lag.
Oh yeah. So the less fun version.
The thing is, though, the Candyman has to have his flock of people believe in him, so he kind of continually terrorizes them. That's where he draws his energy and power from.
Okay.
And so he starts targeting this woman who is looking into the actual real life crimes and stuff that took place, and she's trying to figure out if this stuff actually happened from Candyman, or if there was just a normal reason for why these happen. So,
okay.
And so that's how Candyman starts targeting her, because she's basically making people stop believing in him. And the second film came out I think Candyman came out in 92, 91, something around there. The second one came out in 95. Had a much smaller budget, still a theatrical release, but it was just not as good at all. They recast pretty much everyone but Tony Todd, who plays Candyman, and they instead moved it from Chicago to New Orleans, during Mardi Gras, or right leading up to Mardi Gras. And I think that's actually a perfectly okay place to do it. I think New Orleans and Mardi Gras have this really neat just kind of culture and mood, and I think it fits perfectly inside a horror movie. The thing that So he was like in the first one, he was basically like focused on like an inner city, like black community is basically what he was, and it was very unique to the black community. It was Candyman. And so the second one was based in New Orleans, and it was kind of the same thing. He was, all the black community knew who Candyman was, and so you feel like it was this urban legend that kind of travels around the United States, like a lot of urban legends do, especially like pre-internet days and things like that. So the second one, I think, where they set it up was fine. It did some good stuff, but it just ultimately kind of fell flat. Like it just the way that the original creator wanted to basically make Candyman into this more aristocratic individual, and basically make him kind of like the Dracula for the black community, which could have been really cool. Like he would be this very well spoken, intelligent, and very like skillful person that kills for a reason. He's not just a slasher. But the movie studio wanted to go forward with the idea that he's the son of a slave, and he wasn't from wealth and stuff, which is weird because Tony Todd himself is a very well-spoken person. And even his portrayal of Candyman, he's very well-spoken. He comes from like theater and stuff. He's done like lots of serious roles. And so I thought that was a mistake on the theater's part. I would have loved to see them go the other way with the original creator's idea of making him more, I guess, aristocratic. And the third film was released, I think, in '99, which is funny because we made a lot of jokes about this. This one got released straight to DVD, but we went through the list of all the other movies that released in 1999, and holy crap, there's a ton of really good stuff. I don't blame the studio for choosing to just push this on straight to DVD, because man, there's stuff like The Matrix, Blair Witch Project, Varsity Blues, American Pie, like lots of just from all genres. They're big hitters, and so this one would have got killed if it actually came to theaters.
Yeah, especially compared to
Ring out 99, I think.
What's that?
Was the Ring out in 99? I'm trying to remember.
I don't think it was.
No, that was like 2002, I think, because I saw it on a
it was
plane.
2002. Good job.
Yeah, I saw him playing going to Australia. So
as I was saying, in the first two movies, like he's primarily focused on the black community, but in the third movie, it gets really weird. So the end of the second movie basically tells you that Candyman is now trying to find the woman that he fell in love with. He's basically trying to find like whoever is left in her family, and it happens to be this like young white blonde woman who looks kind of like the Caroline who he first fell in love with, but it's like her great granddaughter.
Okay.
And so he's trying to get her to basically agree to die essentially and live with Candyman for the rest of his life.
Wow.
Her life, or in the afterlife, whatever.
Weird.
Okay.
So that's what's established in the second film. The third film is basically stars Donna D'Errico from like Baywatch Nights, and she plays the main character's daughter from the second film. Like the woman in the second film, she has a daughter at the end. That's Donna D'Errico in this one, in like present day. But they move it to East LA, and the community that he's now terrorizing is like the Hispanic community and in East LA, and he's killing a bunch of white people. It's all over the place. There's no consistency, and the third one is just a mess. And if you want to watch a really cool underrated horror flick, I definitely recommend the first Candyman, because I think it holds up today really well. And then Jordan Peele is making a new version, I think next year, and I'm very excited about that. I think he's the perfect person to kind of resurrect Candyman. I think he's going to pay the proper respects to Candyman and what this series and those movies mean to the black community, because I think it is a big deal to them, and I think that they deserve to have this cool horror character of their own, and I would like to see that. So I'm really looking forward to Jordan Peele's new Candyman movie.
You
Cool.
mentioned CGI in the outline here. What
Yeah.
CGI was there? Was it
Okay.
just like the mirror stuff, like coming through the mirror or something?
So in the second movie, have you ever seen the second film?
I haven't seen it. The Candyman. I feel like Candyman was out of my radar because it just wasn't in the '80s.
Right.
If that makes
Yeah.
sense, just because that was horror.
I definitely suggest, because the first one is essentially a slasher film, and it feels very much in the '80s. But
Nice.
there's CGI at the end of the second one when he dies. He essentially like turns to glass and like shatters and just like flies all over the place. But it
As you
looks
do.
like almost like a CGI render from the PlayStation days, like PS1 era. Like it just looks really bad. Like imagine
Like Johnny Mnemonic.
Yeah, just like they have this really
Nice.
bad CGI and stuff. It's terrible. It was laughably bad. My wife and I were watching it, and we actually laughed out loud. And the CGI actually in the third movie must have had a much lower budget. Granted, it did come out like 3 or 4 years later, but the CGI for the kill moment in the third movie was much better. It looked way better. Still wasn't great, but I'm saying like 1995, and you're putting CGI in your movies. There was much better CGI happening back then.
Yeesh. Yeah.
So,
Wow. Okay.
Nice.
So yeah. So long story short, watch Candyman 1. But if you're in the mood to watch some crappy horror movies, Candyman 2 and 3 actually there's some fun to be had. I don't want to crap on them all together. There's some cool stuff that they do. And Tony Todd's awesome, man. I would watch the whole trilogy for him alone. Even if he has bad dialogue and a bad script to work with, he still is fully committed to the Candyman character, and he is just super creepy. I love it.
Brilliant.
Apparently, the first one's on Netflix, but
Ooh.
I don't know. I'm gonna check in real time
because all of them free at some point. Candyman 3 is on Roku, so you have to actually watch it through your browser, or if you have an Amazon Fire, you can watch it through your browser or on Amazon Fire too.
Yeah, the first Candyman's definitely on Netflix.
Yep,
right now
on Netflix. Candyman
92.
2, I think, is available on Pluto or Tubi, and Candyman 3 is on Roku. So you basically everyone, as long as you have a Netflix account, you can watch the first one streaming on Netflix and the other two streaming on free services right now. So you don't even have to pay any money. Don't pay $30 to Disney to watch Mulan. Watch the Candyman trilogy for free, and you got 9 hours of entertainment, baby.
It's not on the UK
Chris
Netflix.
is excited about promoting something when he ends it with baby. I've noticed.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's not on the UK Netflix, but they do have Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh man.
And
hey Graham,
that's not the same thing, but still great.
Yeah. Graham, I want you to do something. Do you have a mirror or something shiny? Look at that monitor to your left.
Guys,
over there.
There's a mirror behind me.
Scotty, go over to it and look in the mirror, and I want you to say Candyman 5 times.
Candyman 5. Ow, fuck. 5 times. All right, here we go.
God.
Real time action.
If he dies,
he's gonna fucking die.
If I die, hey, the numbers will skyrocket.
Let's see.
Candyman, 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 Candyman. Oh my god!
Sometimes it doesn't happen right away. You summoned him.
Wow.
And,
all right. Well, we'll see what happens.
Fuck now.
Yeah, he's got to go on Google Maps and find where you are right now. He's in Los Angeles or New Orleans at the moment. He's got to drive to you. It'll take a little while.
He's got to catch a flight first.
Well, I mean, it's
going to take him a while to get here with COVID.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He's, it may take a while. He's not flying these days anymore.
He doesn't use. I imagine if he were an anime, that he would just teleport, or not teleport. He would travel on a carpet made of bees.
He does travel by bees in movie 3. He does do that.
Are you being serious?
Yeah, I'm totally serious. Down a subway tunnel, but it looks like he's just sitting on a chair that they green screened out, because he's not moving at all, and it just shows kind of his waist up, but he looks like he's just kind of sitting down on something. It's fantastic. Bad. It is bad. It's so funny.
Okay. Wow. Scotty, what is your pick of the week?
totally different direction, I want to recommend everybody check out Alex Melton on YouTube, mainly because he's a musician. He has original work, but he does phenomenal covers. What threw him into my radar was his country version of Panic at the Disco's song "I Write Sins Not Tragedies," which is renamed "I Write Sins Not Tractors" by Panic at the Square Dance. But it is like hypnotizingly good how he turns these pop punk songs into country. He did it with "I Miss You" by Blink, which he calls "I Miss Y'all," and then another one was Sum 41's "In Too Deep." But he does amazing pop punk covers of also Post Malone. He's got a whole Post Malone EP and a lot of Taylor Swift songs as well. Wow. But just like he was for 2 days out of this past week, he was my background music for work, like the entire day. Okay. He is very good. I think he has he's a producer down in South Carolina, I believe. But yeah, just watch one of his country covers and you're just like, damn, this works. And it's scary. Like, I was watching them and I'm like, do I like country now? Is that what's happening? Because I don't think I do. So yeah, just like his country covers, he does different versions of things like as other artists too, but his Post Malone covers are really good. Post Malone's a hip hop artist. He takes them and turns them into pop punk. Taylor Swift, most of us know Taylor Swift. Like I wasn't a big fan of her single "Look What You Made Me Do" because the chorus is so boring. But he somehow makes it catchier and more fun with this pop punk version. So I'll put a link to one of his videos.
So he does country versions of pop punk songs, but he does pop punk versions of like pop and sort of hip hop.
Yeah, like pop rock and hip hop. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he's a very talented individual. He's all over the place with some stuff. He did one cover of a song that was using nothing but stuff found in the kitchen as instruments, aside from having a guitar, but also just like acoustic percussive stuff, like using bottles and tapping on the sink. What's it called? Yeah, Alex Melton, very talented musician. I recommend checking him out on YouTube because you can see the Panic at the Disco one actually has like little subtitles going up throughout and I've totally been in these situations where he's like, okay, everybody's got bootcut jeans and it's just Miller Lite everywhere. So I don't know any country. I'm going to turn a song into country. Kind of like the gig in Blues Brothers, if you've seen that. Oh, we play all kinds of music here. We play everything, country and Western. Oh yeah, we're the good old boys. We're going to set up,
Oh, yeah, brilliant.
So Alex Melton, very talented.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
Perfect. Cool.
What about you, Graham?
My pick of the week, as sort of mentioned earlier, was... I forgot to grab the box. Never mind. Chris has the box. He showed the box earlier. The box of Control. Sorry, the game... Yeah. I'll start again. My pick of the week is, and I forgot to bring the box, is Control on Xbox One, which is also available on PS4 and PC. So if you weren't watching the show or listening to the show last week, Chris mentioned a bit of news about this game being tied in with the Alan Wake series with the new expansions coming out for it. And that really piqued my interest because I love Alan Wake, and for some reason I'd never even heard of this game, and so I bought it on the very day that we were recording, and it arrived a few days ago, and I popped in my Xbox, and I have played many hours on it already, and I love it. I think it's a brilliant game. It came out in 2019, so it's been out for a while. You can get it reasonably cheap. I got mine for £20, so that's about half the price of less than half the price of the normal brand new Xbox game. And yeah, it really reminds, if you're a fan of Alan Wake, this does actually really remind me of it in the combat and the way you're shooting and stuff, and the way you look over the shoulder, the camera work, but also the styling of it and the eeriness about it. So Alan Wake, if you don't know, it has a lot of creepy factors to it. I will say Alan Wake is a scarier game though. Like I found the enemies a lot scarier and some of the situations scarier. There are some creepy stuff in this, and the whole premise this is just from like basically when you first start the game, is you are in this big building called the Federal Bureau of Control. It's a bit like the FBI, but it's of control, and they sort of work with paranormal type stuff. and you enter this building and there's no one in here except for a janitor who's really creepy. And you don't really know much about your main character, who's this woman called Jessie. But basically she, for this weird situation, she basically becomes the new head of Control. And this is like in the first like 3 minutes of the game, basically. So she becomes the new head through some series of events, and she doesn't really know what's going on, but there's something about her backstory. She's trying to investigate the Federal Bureau of Control as well, because it's tied with her history. And there's lots of creepy paranormal stuff in it, but basically this entity has basically taken over the whole building. There's some people who have managed to not be taken over because they're wearing these special packs that one of their scientists made for a handful of people. So it's up to you and you're not affected. So it's up to you to sort of go around and try and free, or work out what's happening, and also try and free the building from control of this. They call it the hiss because it makes a weird hissing sound. But it's taken over the bodies of most of the people there. So you're getting attacked by employees of Control, but they're all possessed and stuff. So again, a bit like Alan Wake, in the way that Alan Wake, the people kind of possessed by the sort of shadow, as it were. They turn into these sort of shadowy people. It's really cool. And tying back to last week's show when Chris was talking about the expansion pack, I'm not 100% sure, but it feels like when they first started making this game, they did plan to tie it in with Alan Wake. Because, as I say, the gameplay style is very similar. There's a couple of bits where they sort of mention hints of... If you didn't know about Alan Wake, you probably wouldn't even think about this. But now that I know that Alan Wake's coming out, there's a couple of bits. So near the start, there's this weird bit when you go into this motel, and basically you go into this motel to access another area of the building. But it's almost in another dimension. You sort of get teleported there, and they've got all these rooms which are locked off except for one room, which gives you access to get to the other part of the bureau. But this lady sort of mentions about the motel, says, "Isn't it strange that there's only one door you can access?" I think she's sort of talking about how it's in another plane of existence, and she reckons it ties into other parallel worlds or other dimensions. So I feel like that is almost the intro to Alan Wake for the expansion pack. And the motel itself feels like something very much out of Alan Wake. The game is a little bit different to Alan Wake though, because it's almost like you've got Jedi powers. So as you progress through the game, you pick up these different abilities. So you can pick up objects and throw them at people. You can even pick up chunks of the floor and throw them at people. In fact, that's one of the cool things I love about this game was the environment. They're not completely destructible, but a lot of it is, and it makes the actual fighting scenes really awesome. So do you remember the scene in The Matrix at the end, when they're in the sort of big, they go into that building with the pillars and stuff and have a massive gunfight, and the pillars shattering and stuff? That sort of shit happens in this game. You'll be hiding behind cover, and the cover's getting chipped away, and someone will throw a bomb, and the cover will just explode, and it doesn't disappear. It actually stays there, and then you can use your powers to lift up that rubble and just start throwing it at people and stuff. And you can pick up chunks off the floor, and you actually see parts of the floor rip off and stuff. So you can't completely destroy the building, but most of the environment is destructible, and it makes it really fun and really intense. And each floor is the way they've made the game essentially is each floor is open with no loading times and stuff. So if you destroy a room in one of the floors and you go back to it, it's still destroyed. But if you load up to the next level and then come back again, it has reset itself. I guess that's just the limitations of technology and stuff. But it's really awesome that you can be walking around. The floors, by the way, are massive. They're huge. They're big, sprawling environments. And it's kind of a bit like Resident Evil or Metroidvania or Dark Souls games, where you have a small portion of the world that you're in effectively, and you sort of make your way through, and then eventually you unlock a shortcut back, and it basically all the rooms and corridors and stuff are kind of connected to make it easier to get back and through the level and stuff. You find an elevator which suddenly takes you up to the third floor, which now you've got access to that. But it's really cool, and I'm really loving it. As I say, it's not quite as scary as Alan Wake, but there are some really creepy stuff. There's this big scary bird thing which freak the hell out of me, because it kind of appears and then disappears, and when it appears it has this weird explosion which really hurts you, and you have a split second where it's weird and it's and it's explodes. And they're really hard to kill as well. And yeah, I'm just enjoying it. I think there's they sort of have missions as you're progressing. So do this mission to do this, and you got sort of side missions which you don't have to do, but it helps if you do them. And occasionally they have these like timed missions where it will pop up saying like a bureau emergency, go to this area within 20 minutes and kill the enemies there, and you basically get loads of extra experience points, which I've done about 10 of them, and I've failed all but 2 of them because I keep either dying or there's one that we have to protect some of the troops that are on your side, and they keep dying, and I'm like, oh god damn it! So I keep failing them. So you can actually fail those side missions, which is annoying, but I really like it. And it's you can't
Can you redo them?
No.
Oh, well, there you go.
But they do sometimes come back. I've found like after a few happened, one came back which seemed very similar. Basically, it was the same thing in the same areas. I think it was the same mission. But you have to get there within a set time and finish it within that set time, if that makes sense. And sometimes, because it's so sprawling, you do have teleporting areas. We unlock these teleporting areas to get around the building a bit quicker. But if you forget where something is, you kind of, it's but I'm really enjoying it. There's one annoyance I have with it though, is that you've got this gun, which is really cool, and the gun looks really awesome actually. Like parts of it like move around and stuff as you shoot, and you can upgrade it to change it into different forms. So you got like a normal pistol mode, then you get like a shotgun mode, you get like a railgun mode, you get like a machine gun mode, and so like all this little hand pistol, but like parts of it move and stuff. But basically, when you're beginning the game, you've just got the handgun mode, and you press X to reload it. It uses it doesn't really use bullets; it uses energy. So if you wait a few seconds, it will recharge. But if you're in a frantic moment, before it runs out of energy, you press reload, and she'll reload it really quickly. The problem is when you unlock the ability to have a second weapon, so you can have basically 2 versions of your weapon at the same time. X is also the button to change your weapon, which is just bizarre. Like, so there've been times I've been in action, I'm like, shit, I'm running really low. I'm going to press X to reload, and suddenly my gun has changed from like a long range shooting pistol or machine gun into a shotgun mode. And I was like, no, it's not the gun I want. It's just like really frantic. Like, press it back. It's very quick to switch.
Do you have to
back
like tap it quick to do one or the other or something?
Not as far as I can tell. It just seems to just press it and she'll reload, or she'll change.
Man,
so sometimes she will reload.
That's like
it's
like Sonic Adventure issues. That shouldn't be happening in 2020 for video games. You know,
I know, and that's one thing that's really annoyed me about the. It's not okay. It hasn't really annoyed me. It hasn't ruined the game for me, because she will, as I say, the guns do.
It takes you out for a split second.
It does. So I really have to get used to that.
Flow.
So and something I love about it is the puzzles. There's areas where there are puzzles you have to solve, which they do not give you any hand holding on, which I really like. The most hand holding is someone might sort of go, oh, you need to just check this out, which they don't really tell you what to do. So there's like a puzzle with, you got to match up these cards with like on the right computers and stuff, but you don't know what the computers are. And you have to look at these boards on like whiteboards around the room. There's like a laboratory area. And so there's like, they're not highlighted or anything. They're just parts of the scenery. And then as you're walking around, you're like, oh wait, these correlate to this. And so there's some really cool like puzzles which they don't handhold you for, but it feels really satisfying when you work stuff out. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I thank you, Chris, for mentioning it. It's so good.
I feel bad now because I have something really bad to say about the game.
Oh,
and
no.
it's there is news about it. So if you need another reason why you should never buy a game right when it comes out, I've got some news for you. So the publisher 505 Games for Control announced this past week that they are going to be coming out with Control Ultimate Edition on August 27th, which is about 11 days from now. It's going to cost $40, but you'll get basically a free upgrade to next gen consoles. So you won't have to rebuy the game again. You'll go ahead and have it when the PS5 and Xbox the Series X comes out. You'll be able to download it and it'll play better and do all this stuff. But the one thing is that that's only for the Ultimate Edition. So if you bought Control at launch or new at retail, that's not going to get it for you. So you're essentially going to have to. You spent the initial money to buy the game. Then you have to buy $25 for the season pass to be able to get Awe, which is coming out, next week or coming out very soon too. That's the expansion that's going to tie in the other games and stuff.
Alan
Wake, exactly. Thank you.
Experience or something.
But then you're gonna, So you basically, if you bought $60 at the game at launch, then $25 for the season pass, and then you're gonna have to spend another $40 just to be able to get the game on next gen consoles. It's basically $125 that you have to invest in just to be able to play this game like on next gen consoles.
But here's the thing: if you've bought the game already and you've got the expansion packs, do you need to buy next gen consoles?
Well, I mean, not if you don't want an Xbox One or a Series X or a PS5. You don't have to buy them.
I mean, you can buy the console, but you don't need to buy the game again necessarily if you've enjoyed the game and you finished it. Unless they're planning on like doing 10 years worth of more expansions.
They did lay out a roadmap for this and where the DLC is going and everything when it came out.
It's also going to just play better. It's gonna it's going to have upgraded resolution. It's going to have better frame rate.
Wow. Okay. I'll tell you right now, the frame rate on this game is completely.
You don't realize that there are hundreds of remasters today. Like that's what our industry is. It's basically remasters, amongst other, halfway original games. So we are in a remaster culture, like in the game industry. That's what we see. How many games, release every day that's a remaster or something else. So, people like this stuff.
I feel like this wouldn't be necessarily a remaster for the next gen consoles because it's more just it's the same game, just it just happens to be on slightly more powerful machines, so it will run better. Unless they're somehow really planning on doing some adding more stuff and enhancing even further, because the game looks great already and it runs perfectly. So I feel like the visual issue, there's no visual issues, there's no performance issues with the game. It'd just be a case of you can run the same game on slightly better hardware.
Are you playing it on an Xbox One X?
I'm playing on Xbox One X, yeah.
Series X.
I've heard it is almost unplayable on a PS4 launch or an Xbox One base model.
Interesting. I will put it. I've also got an Xbox One base model, which I can test it out in, and I can come back to you next week.
It doesn't run well, so it's interesting to hear you're having no problems with it.
Yeah,
I'll find out soon enough.
I want to play it.
I'll be playing it on.
Okay. The only time I've ever seen a tiny bit of slowdown is when I pause the game and unpause it, and there's like just a moment, like I'm like in action, she'll sort of slowly coming back into action, but it's like it doesn't actually affect the game itself. Like that's just the only time I've actually seen any slowdown. But yeah, I'll try it on my Xbox One and my standard Xbox One and see what happens. But yeah, Chris can also report back.
After it's done installing this weekend for Chris.
It's done now. I'm done. Oh. Ready to rock and roll, baby.
Wow. Okay. But yeah, there we go. That's my pick of the week. Control, as Chris sort of got me to buy it, but maybe hold out for the definitive edition. If you haven't got it already, wait a couple of weeks, get definitive edition.
There's no definitive edition of Night Trap. You just play it. Yeah. $3.
There you go.
$3.
I got my copy for like $20 or $30 though, so I'm not. I don't feel like I got swindled.
Yeah,
I want to support Remedy and buy this game at launch because I think they're an awesome developer, and then their publisher goes off and does something like this, where like, we're going to release an Ultimate Edition, but sorry, you're out of luck. It would have been cool to see if like maybe they said like, hey, if you bought it at launch, there's like a $10 upgrade, whatever. I could live with that. Just as long as you're not basically completely shutting them out the door, as long as you're giving something back to the people that supported you at launch. That's huge. So I think this could have been handled much better.
Yeah, definitely.
So there are rumors floating around now because the voice actor for Max Payne said something about Control or something. I forget exactly. I'm misquoting all over the place, but Remedy made the Max Payne games. What do you guys think about it actually, instead of just an Alan Wake universe, being a Remedy universe, and somehow Max Payne is involved in Control now?
Well, we talked about that last week, that's what they plan on doing.
Oh, did we?
The Remedy is starting their own expanded kind of universe or whatever, where all the games are basically going to tie into themselves, like to this expanded universe.
It works with Marvel.
Did I just black out during that discussion because I don't remember thinking about Max Payne at
that
all?
was hot. That was basically Chris's news last. He didn't mention Max Payne, but yeah, Chris's news last week was
okay.
the whole Remedy universe. To be honest, I forgot that Max Payne was part of their universe. So awesome. And I'd love
Get
to
Mark
see that.
Wahlberg back.
If you can have the Max Payne like with the destructible environments and stuff, that'd be amazing. That'd be so much fun in this game.
Wasn't that the first game to have bullet time?
Yes, it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was a cancelled Dreamcast game as well. It was being planned. It was planned for the PC and Dreamcast, and it didn't come out on the Dreamcast in the end. Sad.
Darn you, Millennium Edition of Windows.
Anyway, that is my pick of the week. Go check it out. Either buy cheap for $20 or £20, or wait for the definitive edition and get a slightly more enhanced version. And yeah, awesome. So that will do it for the picks of the week, and we will be right back after this little break.
See ya.